What's going on, my fellow degenerates? Passion here once again with another video with some Overwatch 2 gameplay. So today I wanted to talk about what might be coming for BlizzCon 2026. As you guys know, I made my announcement video that I'm going to be going to BlizzCon this year. We're pretty close to being able to start funding that, but with BlizzCon just about a year away from the time that we're doing this video, I wanted to go over and give some of my predictions, specifically for Overwatch 2, for what might be announced at the opening ceremony for BlizzCon 2026. And I do think that it is going to be stuff that's really going to be quite big, because if you go look through Blizzard's history, and you look at some of the stuff like Jason Schreier's book, for example, Play Nice, they talk a little bit in there about how expensive it is for Blizzard to run BlizzCon. Like, it costs like millions and millions of dollars to run this event, and a lot of the higher-ups and executives in the past like 10 years have wanted to completely kill BlizzCon because it's just a massive money sink. Like, they don't make anywhere near as much as they put into it for a profit back, you know? And the fact that they are bringing it back in 2026 after a 3-year break tells us that they're not going to spend this kind of money on the convention if it's not something big, right? If it's not like this huge announcement. So that tells me that we're gonna get some massive stuff at BlizzCon 2026. I mean, we usually do get some really nice stuff at BlizzCon regardless, but the fact that after seeing everything that the team in Team 4 and even Blizzard in as a whole has gone through to try to keep BlizzCon alive, and the fact that they've wanted to kill BlizzCon several times from like the suits at the top, it says to me that they're going to be really swinging for the fences with this next BlizzCon. So let's talk about what those massive reveals could potentially be. So obviously, when it comes to BlizzCon, you know we're getting a new hero. I'm pretty sure they've announced every BlizzCon that Overwatch has been a part of. Since the launch of Overwatch 1, we've gotten a new hero announcement at BlizzCon. That's just what they do, right? So that's not a prediction to say we're getting a new hero. But what I am saying is I'm going to try to predict who that next hero is going to be. So let me walk you through what I think is likely to happen over the next year. So in Season 20, which is going to be right around like Christmas time, right around December, for the Winter Wonderland event, we're likely going to see another tank. We got Hazard last year around this time, and we're probably going to get another tank around the same time this year, and I believe that is going to be the She-Wolf of Retaliation that has been teased across the Arena Victoria map and Stadium. There was a little dev doodle art of her in the background of the Spotlight event we got back in February, and even in the most recent Reconciliation comic for Ramatra, we got to see her silhouette in one of the comic panels, so I believe she is very close to launching. I believe she's also going to be Italian, which I don't think we've had an Italian hero in Overwatch quite yet, so that's going to be interesting. So I believe that's going to be coming in Season 20. Season 22 will be the next hero release, and I think we've already gotten that confirmed. I mean, not specifically confirmed, but basically as confirmed as you can get without outright saying it. And it's very much obviously going to be Anren, right? Wu Yang's sister, because she was confirmed in Wu Yang's hero trailer to have received an Overwatch call-up in the form of that little coin that Overwatch heroes get when they're called up to Overwatch. So we know that Anren's going to be a playable hero at some point, because she did get that Overwatch call-up. I believe it's going to be in Season 22, because that will be the DPS season, so I believe she is going to be a DPS hero. So then that leaves season 24 to come, and I believe that they're gonna like play a little bit around with the length of the season, so that season 24's release coincides with the Tuesday after BlizzCon, is what I do believe. So with season 24, obviously that would mean we're getting a support hero. And what support hero are we getting, you might ask? Well, to me, I think it's finally time that we got Emre. Because I know that Omnic posted a pretty good video not that long ago about all the secrets in some of the new payload race maps, including Powder Keg Mine. And if you look at the Powder Keg Mine map, there are several references to a unnamed veteran Overwatch agent who is seen around the area, potentially working either with or against Helix Securities, which is obviously the private military contractor that Farah belongs to. So he's been somebody that's been hinted at for years in the lore, like since almost the very beginning. We've heard about Emre, and we even saw a picture of him once way back in Overwatch 1. He was even featured fairly recently in Freya's origin comic when Freya was a hero. So I believe that the season 24 support hero is going to be Emre, and he will be announced at BlizzCon 2026. So how do they introduce him? Well, they could just, do a regular gameplay trailer like they've done for Malga and, Freya and all the other heroes that we've gotten in the past few years. But why not do it with a hero reveal cinematic? That's what that's right. The return of Overwatch's legendary narrative style, the thing that kind of propelled this game to the heights that it once saw at the beginning of Overwatch 1, those cinematic shorts. I think they're going to bring them back. And with BlizzCon being this big, massive production, this feels like the right time to really, do something big and do something bold and do something that gets not just the fans, but the entire world talking about Overwatch again. And I think that, doing a reveal cinematic for Emre would be huge. And obviously you would expect Emre to be playable on the show floor, just like they've done with every hero they've released. But just like they did with Malga a few years ago, when Malga was released revealed at BlizzCon, he will also be available in the live game for a trial weekend, that last weekend of Season 23, heading into Season 24, the Tuesday after BlizzCon. So that's the hero I think we're going to get at BlizzCon. Moving on to the next announcement. Now, let me be clear, I do think that this next thing isn't really guaranteed, but I do think it's a real possibility now in a way that it really hasn't been for many years. So, what is that? I'm talking the Rebirth of a Dream PvE. Now, here's why. It's because when the original PvE roadmap collapsed, right, in spring around spring of 2024, the biggest hurdle then wasn't really a lack of interest or even vision, it was resources. Because Team 4 kind of had to juggle, trying to make PvE with the same team that was currently trying to make and balance PvP. And there just wasn't enough resources to do it. And that's why we only got like those 3 missions, because that's all they managed to do in that time, right? Basically, they also kind of had this philosophy that like everything with the game had to be this like unified development kind of thing, where if not every team member was on the same page, nothing moved forward. And I think that mindset kind of killed the momentum for the development of PvE. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons, and we've talked about them before, about why PvE failed, but like, I think that those are some of the key factors into why PvE kind of collapsed. But recently, with the Stadium expansion, we saw Team 4 kind of take a different approach to developing that with like a dedicated sub-team working in parallel with the larger PvP team. Because Stadium's development doesn't really affect the core PvP development really in any way. It's a separate team within Team 4 that is not necessarily needing to have these big contentious conversations with the PvP team, because they just kind of go off and do their own thing, and it still just works, right? They're not really, as long as they keep the base kits, you know, kind of what you'd expect for those heroes as based on what the original PvP team is doing, then the Stadium team kind of just do whatever the hell they want to do, and it doesn't affect what's going on with the PvP team. So, and we've even seen in developer updates, the Stadium team, it's a completely separate group within Team 4. And it wouldn't have to sacrifice balance or polish while enhancing the game's depth, so to speak. So, that's why I believe the PvE experience could now be possible, especially if you do, kind of like Stadium, branch it off into a smaller sub-team within Team 4 that just does the PvE and nothing else. You don't need to pull developers away from PvP or away from Stadium. It can just be, okay, you guys, you're the PvE team, you figure it out. You can kind of check in with us, and we'll, like, you know, it's like, see how you're doing, but this is your own thing, just go and do it, we don't care what you do. That's kind of what needs to happen for PvE to kind of come back, I think. But I do think now that they have kind of started to do that with Stadium, I think it's a real possibility that we see that for PvE. So how would they make that profitable? Because that's kind of it's going to be a big thing, right? Like you can't just in this modern day and age of gaming, you can't just like release something for free that costs like millions of dollars to develop. So they need to make it profitable somehow. How would they do that? Well, I believe there's 3 potential ways they could do that in terms of monetization. The one could be that you could launch the PvE content with an initial like kind of like $20 to $40 content pack with like a few missions, right? Depending on like their size and replayability. Then with subsequent seasonal mission bundles that are all kind of priced around like $10 to $20 each, with each pack including like 2 to 3 missions, and you could, like, say, do that each season. And each of these could potentially include like new enemies or environments, locations, and stuff like that. Or alternatively, you could purchase a yearly PvE campaign pass, which would include the entire PvE content for the whole year. That's 12 missions for the whole year, or maybe even more, right? Maybe you can even go as far as like 24 missions for the whole year, and that would be like a base $70, right? Which is the traditional, relatively equal to the cost of a full AAA game today. This would kind of remove the whole fear of microtransactioning the whole thing, and you know, if you just want to be like, I love PvE, I want all the PvE content for the whole year, there you go. Or, and I'll keep bringing this up at every chance I get, because I really want to see it happen, the subscription model, right? The subscription model, which would be like Overwatch Plus, or whatever the hell you want to call it. For like $15 a month, you could get like the Ultimate Battle Pass, a set of Overwatch coins, exclusive cosmetics that are exclusive just to the people who are subscribers, as well as access to all the PvP content for as long as you are a member. So you wouldn't need to pay the $10 or $20 for a mission pack. You wouldn't need to pay the $70 for the annual pass. It would just be included in your subscription. And on top of that, I do think a Diablo-style loot system, in a way, that you could like kind of have something like that, where you could provide randomly dropped hero weapon variants with unique effects in PvE. That's kind of like a spiritual successor to what they try to do with the talent tree system, but just kind of like make it more of like a weapon mod kind of a thing. And then obviously you wouldn't be able to carry these over into PvP, but I would think that you could take like what's essentially a transmog of that weapon, so it like looks the same as what you have in the PvE. You could like make it look all fancy, kind of like they do with the mythic weapons these days, right? Make it look all fancy and nice, and make that a transmog that you can equip in PvP. and take that into the core PvP modes. I think that would be cool and incentivize like grinding and replayability and stuff while still respecting the PvP balance. So, but then we kind of gotta go into what the plan C would be. So say we don't get PvE. PvE just is still dead. We don't get that full narrative experience. Cinematics also don't return. We don't get a big cinematic at BlizzCon. Cinematics are still dead. What do? There's still a very clear desire, both from the fans and even within Team 4, to push the story of Overwatch forward. And I've talked about this before. The way they can do that, if we're not going to get PvE, we're not going to get cinematics, we can get an animated Overwatch TV show. Because Microsoft already has that pre-existing partnership with Amazon Prime for the Fallout TV show. To me, that this, and I believe just recently, it was announced that they've expanded that partnership to do a Life is Strange TV show, which Microsoft also owns. So, I mean, hey, like Microsoft is kind of working with Amazon Prime here pretty closely. It would make sense to me that they do a Overwatch TV show. It wouldn't obviously have like the full Pixar quality like visuals that we've seen in Overwatch's old cinematics, but it could kind of take inspiration from the Genesis series of short films that we got to promote Invasion, utilizing kind of more of that anime-inspired art direction that would like have a lot lower production costs for it. And I think that this would be a perfect avenue to explore the lore, grow the audience especially, and potentially generate a lot of revenue outside of the game itself. And of course, like I said, bring in new people to the game who are going to spend more money on the game, so that would be great. The next thing, which is probably my least hardcore prediction, is a potential hero rework. Now, I really don't expect a hero rework announcement to be the headline of BlizzCon 2026, or really even guaranteed to show up at all. But that being said, if we do get a rework announcement, and Sombra still has not been fixed by then, she's obviously the most likely target to get that rework. And I know that that they are currently working on it as we speak, and I know that the team has said that they want this rework of Sombra to be her last. They're not going to go back and rework her again after this, so they really want to nail this one down right. So it may take a little bit longer to get that Sombra rework out. But if she has been fixed by that point, who might we potentially get a rework for? Well, I'm going to point towards Reinhardt, because if you look at the now publicly available pick and win rates from the Blizzard Hero Stats website, his stats, especially in really high level play, are consistently underwhelming. And now that we have this data, it's really hard to ignore that. And since he's a really big core face of Overwatch, I think he deserves better representation in the meta, and he deserves to be a more overall good pick, not just a pick for the bottom rungs of the ranked ladder, right? So while I'm not confident a rework is even coming whatsoever, Reinhardt would be my next guess after Sombra, just purely based on the numbers. And moving on to the next thing that I expect we're going to see at BlizzCon 2026, that would be at least 3 new maps. I believe we're going to get 1 map for the core PvP modes, and then 2 stadium maps announced at BlizzCon. So let's start with the core map. Now, we've obviously gotten a couple maps teased at the February Spotlight event that are coming post-Season 19. We do know that. And while Atlantic Arcology has had kind of small visual teases for years across the Overwatch landscape, having references for across several different maps, we haven't seen it really talked about since that February Spotlight event. However, given that there's been a ramp up of references, including that on one on Atlas, the most recent new core map, I believe that Atlantic Arcology is going to be releasing before BlizzCon. When, specifically what season, couldn't tell you, but I do think we are going to see it before BlizzCon. That's why I believe the Tokyo map, which was also teased at that Spotlight event, is going to be the one set for that BlizzCon announcement. And given the little bit of concept art we've seen for it, I can very easily see that being a big talking point for BlizzCon 2026, and how that map looks and plays and how it feels. So as for Stadium, we've seen them release like 2 to 3 maps per season, especially usually including a one with control. We may get a control map as well, but I didn't actually predict that. I'm not too confident on being able to predict which control map we get, but I do have a couple predictions for the Stadium maps. One of those being a payload race version of Dorado, obviously set in a new kind of area of Dorado, and also a push version of an old 2CP map that fans have been waiting to see revived, and that is Volskaya Industries. I believe that, you know, with how they reworked Paris into a push map for Stadium, I believe that we could get a push version of Volskaya to kind of bring that map back as well as a big fan favorite. So to me, these choices kind of hit that nostalgia button while also expanding the Stadium experience in a really meaningful way. And moving on to my final prediction, this is kind of a shot in the dark, but something I would really, really love to see, is an overhaul of the Workshop. Workshop 2.0, essentially, because I believe it's one of the most underloved features in Overwatch. It was really innovative when it launched, but you ask anybody that worked with it, that Blizzard hasn't really maintained it really at all. Even before the release of Overwatch 2, that kind of whole thing fell into disrepair. Many game modes are broken, the interface is really arcane, you have to kind of like be some kind of like scripting wizard to even understand how the goddamn thing works. It's been increasingly inaccessible to newcomers, so I believe that BlizzCon 2026 is the perfect time to announce a full Workshop renovation. That would include a modern UI that would kind of like look and feel more like Fortnite creative, with like these drag and drop logic nodes and testable loops and visualized scripting, something that takes it out of the whole, you know, terminal side of like coding the way it currently is, and makes it a lot more easy to work with for your average everyday player, so they can create these really cool game modes. You would also have access to all the PvE assets if they do decide to bring that back, like all the old PvE enemies like the Slicers and the Subjugators and stuff like that. You could even include some kind of like scripted events, you know, camera movements and stuff, pre-recorded voice lines, both that are currently existing in the game and maybe some old ones they recorded and never released. You know, stuff that's kind of just been sitting in their vault unused, and even dialogue boxes. So you could like start, like, you know, you could have like these whole narrative missions. You could create your own PvE missions with this kind of thing this way. And also you could have a new creator hub for players to kind of like browse maps from their favorite creators, follow their favorite creators, support their favorite creators through the Workshop, and creators could have custom thumbnails, much like they do with Fortnite. You can rate all the different maps, all that kind of stuff. So I believe that this would empower players to build their own experiences, both PvP and PvE, regardless if Blizzard is really ready to go all in on that PvE development. I mean, even if they don't go into that PvE development, they could still like release, you know, those PvE assets that are already within the game as it exists now. I think that'd still be fine. But that's really all I have for my BlizzCon 2026 prediction list. If this is what we have cooking, anywhere close to this for BlizzCon 2026, it's going to be huge, because this is the first BlizzCon in 3 years. They have to come in swinging. They have to make this multi-million-dollar investment worth it, and they have to cause a huge buzz, not just the Blizzard community, but beyond in the larger gaming sphere. Whether that's the release of MRAY, like a new cinematic coming out, the return of narrative content, the long-awaited rebirth of PvE, a TV show, whatever it may be, we're going to see the direction that Overwatch is taking for like the next 3 years, at least. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen at BlizzCon 2026? Remember, if you're going, I hope to see you there, because I'm going to be there this coming year at BlizzCon. So remember, guys, if you like the video, you'll like the video, leave a dislike, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I'm Passion. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Yeah. Turn me on and pop up on the screen, what you know about it. Get up and say hello to me, you will live without it. Empty fresh